I see that competition. I love it. One of the things that I saw the pregame was Aaron Rodgers, the MVP of the football, MVP of the whole league. Aaron Rodgers, he said that in 2007, he watched every single play Tom Brady did from scrimmage. And it was kind of in passing, and not many people picked up on it. But then, I started thinking about the preparation it took. I mean, this wasn't by accident. 45 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, that wasn't by accident. He was preparing 4 years ago for this moment. And he did it by going and watching every single play Tom Brady ever did from scrimmage, watching every move, studying every decision. And he was preparing for 4 years. Nothing happens by accident. It's a result of hard work and preparation. And I'll tell you, that's the fact with myself. I mean, I couldn't stand up here without, saying a couple things. Because the reality is I got a lot to learn. Luckily I've had some great mentors. For example, I felt like when Aaron Rodgers said that, I felt like, I go down to see Mr. Whittle all the time. I feel like he's the Tom Brady, and I know he lost the Super Bowl yesterday, but he's the quarterback, he's the deal. And, I go down and watch Mr. Whittle all the time, every move, every decision, everything he does to try to get better. Mr. Whittle is like the Tom Brady. Of course, Tom Brady's a lot better looking, but, so the mentors that we had, I just want to thank, Bill Whittle, Dick Walker, Andy Young, Bobby Buisson, Rich Falcone, because the truth is, every step of the way I realize how little I know and how much help I need, and they're there to provide it. And I could tell you that's why this company's so good, because the system works. There's people in place, no one has all the answers, but there's people in place that have the answers that you can gain from. So it's a great thing. Also, I want to talk about, we have 2 of the top 5 new RVPs. So I want to give a shout out to Will and Pauline St. Jean and Samir and Cynthia Qureshi, 2 of the top 5 new RVPs. Congratulations, guys. But now here's the problem. We are, America's faced with epidemic, and there's a real issue now that we're out there every day sitting down with people, and there's a real problem, and we're facing real consequences. People are struggling financially, and everybody's trying to blame something. It's Visa's fault, it's this person's fault. Well, here's the reality. It's just math, and there's only one real answer. I'm young still. I just turned 32. And the reason why I say that, because I remember when I turned 16, it wasn't but 15, 16 years ago. And when I turned 16, I remember going to the movies, and the good movies were $4.25. And again, I'm not talking about, when I was a kid, I walked up hills both ways. I'm talking about just 15 years ago. I remember when I first got a car, I'm almost positive I saw gas when it had a decimal point as the first digit, but definitely 1. I was paying $1 something for gas 15 years ago. A stamp, I remember when it was 15 cents. Definitely remember when it was 19 cents. And this was just 15 years ago. Now, I just went to the movies, paid $12 for a movie ticket. The first number at gas now is a 3 and close to 4. Stamps are what, 45 cents? So if movie tickets have tripled in the last 15 years, if gas has tripled in the last 15 years, if stamps have tripled in the last 15 years, if college education's gone up 20 times in the last 15 years, the question is, have salaries gone up 3 times in the last 15 years? No. I can tell you, I've read articles about how salaries are less today than they were just 5 years ago. Some people say that, we're making the same as we were 30 years ago. The fact is, the problem, we are paying the consequences because we're not making the money the right way. Everybody talks about is how you manage your money, and that helps. But the biggest issue is how you make your money. Your income had to go up 3 times. I have 5 brother-in-laws. I have 3 sisters, all 3 married, and my wife has 2 brothers. They all made less money this year than they did in 2007. So here we are paying the consequence of a decision that happened about 80 years ago. See, in the Industrial revolution in the industrial era, when we decided to no longer make our living and provide for our family and put that responsibility in the hands of somebody else, that's what we're paying for now. Because we gave up the right to decide what we make. We gave up the right to decide to work for ourselves and to create our income, and we gave that to somebody else. And we're paying for it now. You see, we were meant to be owners. That's the way that, the capitalism, that's the way America was set. We were supposed to be owners. And this company knows that more than anything else. They understand the biggest difference between wealth and poor is ownership and equity. Rich people own things, poor people don't. Now, the middle class understands it when it comes to what they think the biggest asset is. So it's not like they don't realize it, but they think their biggest asset's the house. And if you ask somebody, would you rather own the house or rent the house, they're going to say, well, I'd rather own it. Because when it's such a big asset, you're throwing away money when you rent, right? You pay rent so you can stay for 30 days. You pay, you stay, you pay, you stay. What happens when you stop paying? Can't stay. And what do you have to show for it? Nothing. And when you own a house, you pay, eventually you can stop paying and still stay, but better than that, you can sell it, pass it on to your kids, or move out, rent it out and create an income. That's what assets do. That's the big difference between having an asset and renting something. And I can tell you, everybody I knew understood that value. Everybody I knew, all my friends, all my family, it was all about owning a home. If you ask anybody what their top 5 financial goals are, owning a home would be one of them. And if they own a home, if you ask them their top 5 financial goals, owning a second home would be one of their top 5 financial goals. Because they understand that owning homes can build wealth, that there's value in that. But see, where the middle class got bamboozled, where we got the wool pulled over our eyes, is the biggest asset's not the house. The biggest asset is our ability to generate income. The average person makes, I don't know, let's say $40,000 a year. They work more than 40 years. That's $1.6 million. That's by far the largest asset we'll ever have. And for some reason, everybody I knew was obsessed about owning a home, but they rented their biggest asset without even knowing it. They went to work for 40 hours, they got a paycheck. 40 hours, paycheck, 40 hours, paycheck. What happens when you stop working 40 hours? No paycheck. And what do you have to show for it? Well, see, when you own a Primerica business, you own a McDonald's franchise. You can stop working 40 hours and still get a paycheck, true or false? But even better is you can sell it, or you could pass it on to your kids. That's real ownership. And everybody I knew was focused on owning a home, but they rented the one asset that's going to set them free. See, as obsessed as my friends were about owning a home, that's how obsessed I got about owning a business. Because I knew if I owned a business, I'd probably be able to own a couple of homes. The biggest difference between rich and poor is ownership. Rich people own homes, or do they rent them? They own them. Do poor people own homes, or do they rent them? They rent them. Do rich people own businesses, or do they work for others? They own businesses. Do poor people own businesses, or do they work for others? They work for others. And the middle class is in the middle class because they're right down the middle. Middle class people own homes, but rent their income. The biggest difference between rich and poor is ownership. And you get to decide where you'll be. Now, the greatest part about it is that our company understands this and is helping us accumulate wealth.